Welcome to today's edition of Mental Health Matters. Today I have Bessetta LeBron on the show. She's going to talk about her new project that she launched, which is Tea Time. Get you something to drink, get you a snack, and come on back. Good morning, Bessetta. How are you doing?
Good morning, Jessica. I'm so good. It's so lovely to be here.
Thank you. Look, let me tell you something. I'm like super duper uber excited. Like for real. Um, for those who don't know, me and Bethsaida, we are really good friends. We don't talk to each other as much as we should because she's busy and I'm busy. But whenever like I need her for some or she need me and she's updating me on events that she's putting together, that she's sponsoring, I mean, just whatever. It's like that connection. You got that friend. You know you don't talk to him and see him all the time, but it's like that connection is still there. So
Like time hasn't passed.
oh man.
Yeah,
So
right where we left off. Yeah.
exactly. So what's been going on with you? Give me a little update.
Yeah. So just been one of the things that I'm really working on and that just launched and that is going to be reoccurring is that we were talking about the tea time.
Yeah,
So I'm super excited about that. Yeah, just been working with teams and specifically middle managers realizing that they need a little more support. So
yeah,
that's what I've been getting a chance to do. And yeah, we can talk about that
nice.
more, but yeah, that's
Yeah. So before this project, you were also going into organizations and kind of doing some things too. Talk a little bit about that.
yeah, and I'm still doing some of that.
Okay.
So I really go into organizations and support them in understanding, you know, how to take better care of themselves. A lot of it is like emotional intelligence, which we know is really connected to mental health and mental
Right.
wellness and emotional wellness.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that, companies and organizations and leaders especially weren't really thinking about. They
Yeah.
just were thinking more like, okay, tasks and productivity and not realizing that you have to take into account the whole person. And that includes, right, their emotions and
Mhm.
their wellness and figuring out balance. And so giving them the language and the tools to do that better. This is what I've been doing. And I always go and like play is such a big part of how I teach because I just know adults. I mean, I'm just speaking for myself. Like, I do not love when people just come in and like lecture at me, talk at me, tell me what I need to do, tell me everything I'm doing wrong,
Yeah.
and just like point everything out. That
Yeah.
doesn't feel good. So that's
Yeah.
not how I run things. So it's always about, hey, let's play together. And
Hmm.
when you play, you kind of are more authentically who you are, right? Kind of
Yeah.
let that guard down. And then it just gives us a place to explore with from a place of curiosity of like,
Yeah.
hey, if this is how we're showing up as a team, does this work? And then, that's where I kind of can give some tools and some suggestions, give the shared language of emotional intelligence, but it's very playful in a way that doesn't make anybody feel like, you know, everything about you is wrong because we're all out here doing the best that we can, and I believe
Right.
that all the time. So it's
Right.
helping people who want to do better have the tools to do better and bring more joy and humanity to work.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I do like that you put a twist on your workshops and things when you run these companies, because you're right. When you do have people come in there and just lecture, and they may have some really great information, but at times you gotta be able to keep the attention of your audience. And so if you don't know how to do that with the information you're sharing, it's kind of like some of the things that you're saying go straight over their head because now they're bored, they're tired, they're yawning, they're trying to, get to the next thing. They think about, I gotta finish this project. So it's good that you learn to know how to capture people attention and keep their attention with your presentation, the style of your presentation. So that's good.
Yeah,
Uh,
and you know this about me, Jesse, but not everybody knows that I really kind of cut my teeth in like improv and stand up. So being in front
right,
of people and performing, right? That's a lot of what I bring in my facilitation style. But you're right, people want to not just have it be, worth their time so that they stay engaged, but then also I think it's important like people don't want to feel um gross and bad.
right,
And so like, helping people realize like, oh, what you're learning is for you. It's for your benefit. It's only going to make
right,
you better in all of your relationships anytime that you're, even your relationship with yourself. So
right.
when people understand why, then it makes it a little bit easier. So
Yes, absolutely. And I'm glad that you talked about the improv, because I was about to say that you have a background as a stand-up comedian, and you do bring a lot of that into your presentations and the work that you're doing, because you know that you can break through when people are sitting at at your presentation, and there may be things that's going on. They may be stressed out, they may be tired, or whatever the case may be. And how you are in your presentation, the way you present yourself and your information, it does keep a person interested. Like, okay, now what are we going to do next? Now, what is she going to say next? And it just helps. So I like that you're doing that. Bedside, what made you want to start doing this type of work? Because you also have a background working in mental health as well as management. Like, what made you want to do that and bring all these pieces or all your skill set together and help the working place?
because I felt like I was in such a unique position to do that
Hmm.
because I did have the background in mental health and also did a lot of training in just the mental health space and work, right? Having been a manager and knowing how hard it is to be a manager and how even the organizations that provide you support, there's still a lot of support that's lacking for
Yeah,
managers, specifically middle managers, because it's such a unique position to be in.
yeah,
And so to see all of that and then to know that what I really am trying to do, and we talked about tea time, is just bring people together and create
yeah,
a sense of connection and community. And I just felt uniquely positioned to bring that. And I didn't see that anybody else was doing it. And
wow,
I'm of the belief that like if I think something should exist and I'm looking for it for myself, then I feel called that, well, then I need to be the one to make this happen. So uh,
yeah,
that's I looked around, I didn't see it, and I was like, okay.
yeah. Also, you was doing something because I came to one of your events. I think you was doing it on a Wednesday on
Mhm.
Zoom. Talk a little bit about that, because I'm trying to get people to see your entrepreneurship gift or skill set or mentality. Like, you got a lot of good ideas in that smart brain of yours. And it's coming out. It's coming out in different ways to help different people do different things. But it's always tied to your comedian side, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, I just think that, the part of being a comedian, because I do think sometimes people are like, oh, being a comedian and like, oh, she's gonna make jokes at me and like, make you feel uncomfortable. But I really use comedy as a way to um, really create like a different perspective. It's a
Mhm,
reframe, right?
mhm.
So like we can't laugh about something without having a little bit of distance,
Yeah,
right? We have to be able to be like able to separate ourselves from the situation to be able to laugh at it. And
yeah,
that's the what I think is one of the magic like sparks of comedy is that it helps you to go, oh, like I can
yeah,
only laugh at something that I like can see myself outside of too, right?
yeah,
It gives you a fuller perspective if you can laugh about it. So that always is infused in everything that I do because I believe so many of us take ourselves way too serious
yeah,
and we have such a limited time here and to do good and to connect with others. And by taking ourselves too serious and being so task oriented and like focusing every day on just like our to-do list and our productivity being what makes our value, we're missing so many opportunities to connect to that humanity and to that joy. So that's
Yeah.
everything that I show up to do. And you talked about the Wednesday, and I'm still doing that. So that is a
Yeah.
online
Wow.
thing on Zoom.
Yeah.
Um, and people are welcome to join if they want to like reach out to me, and I'll give you the information to join. And that is right now it's an open drop-in that's a
Yeah.
donation because I'm
Okay.
really trying to make this accessible so people can come and play. It's a place to refresh yourself. It's
Yeah.
called the Wind Up
Mhm.
because we get together and we're not winding down, we're kind of revving up, right? So we're
Right.
winding up with each other, and it's on Zoom, and I lead games, we play, you connect with other people, and so that's always the first Wednesday of each month at
Okay.
7 p.m. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, what I mean, to me, I've always said this to you, and you know this is not capping. I've always said you are like extremely smart, extremely smart. And I feel like the gifts and the talents that you possessed when you were not, working in your entrepreneurship, I feel like it was kind of like in a box, and now you've stepped out of that box and now you're starting to blossom with these ideas, these creative events and things like that. Do you feel like you were kind of like in a box when you was like, just working and just the 9 to 5 and you get all these ideas and like speak to that?
Yeah, and that's a great question, and you're so kind, thank you.
Yeah.
um I do feel like it's very different, and
Yeah.
I don't, and maybe yes, it's kind of like being in a box, but I see it just a little different. I feel like when I was working like a traditional 9 to 5
Yeah.
position and role, I was had to be, because that's the nature of the job, is I
Yeah.
had to be focused on what is it that my direct leadership or the organization is tasking me to do, and I was just pushing their vision.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, and I know for a fact I've worked in many different organizations in that position, like over my lifetime, that there's more of a singular vision than I
Hmm.
have. I see many things that can be possible. Like
Hmm.
my imagination is huge. And so
Yeah.
the possibilities that I can imagine, that I can envision are many, and I can see how they overlap. And that was never something that an organization that I've worked for could envision,
Yeah.
or they couldn't, it seemed too risky,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
how can this thing that I'm
Hmm.
imagining, all of these
Hmm.
things fit together? They couldn't see it. And so
Hmm.
because they couldn't see it, there wasn't that support for me to make it happen. And
Hmm.
so now that it's like, well, now it's me, I am in a position where I can actually like I've I don't have to have people see my vision. Now I'm
Right.
like, okay, now I'm just going to show them.
Right.
So now
Exactly.
I'm creating it, and then
Yeah.
people see it and go, "Oh, this is what she's been talking about."
Yeah. So I'm just curious, like I mean, because you have a lot of great ideas, is it that you be just laying in the bed one day or just showering or just walking and boom, it comes to you and you just kind of just build on those ideas, or like how do you cultivate these ideas and bring them to pass?
I I feel like most of the ideas that I have, at least for me, like they're small seeds.
Okay.
So I've picked up, like I'm like, I wonder about this, and then I think about this, and I try to write everything. Uh, many many years ago, actually, I back when we were working together in
Yeah.
the same organization, my supervisor at the time gave me a notebook that said my big book of ideas, because she's
Mm.
like, you got so many ideas, write them down. And I don't have that notebook anymore because I've since moved on, but I keep trying to track all the ideas so I can kind of go back and look at them. Um, because sometimes I'll have small ideas that don't really make sense by themselves, but then after time they kind of come together, and then that kind of like, and I share the ideas, I try different things, and I let myself kind of react to what's happening, like, as I put it together. It's kind of how I would build my comedy set, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you're starting out in comedy or anytime that you're doing comedy, like, your job is to just notice as much
Yeah.
as you can in your day and in the world, and anything that kind of sparks something in you, you write it down.
Yeah.
And it might not make any sense, right? You might just be like, "Oh, yeah, kind of odd interaction at the drive-through," and then you just write that down. It doesn't make sense, but you go back and you start to, like, put a bunch of these little things together, and after a while, like, "Oh, like, this is now a little story.
Yeah.
This is a comedy bit." And so that's kinda how I feel like I've brought that over into how I cultivate my ideas. It's just little pieces, I capture them, I review them, I try to put it all together, and then slowly it becomes something, and for me, I've learned that the quicker I act on something and
Hmm.
put it out in the world and see the reaction, same as
Yeah.
comedy, right? You can't get good at comedy by yourself. You have to
Right.
get on stage. You
Yeah.
have to have people react to what you're saying because in your head, it might not make sense in the same
Right.
way that other people react to it. So I've learned in this that like my job is to like take something and one if I'm excited about it, get it out in the world, make it happen, see how it lands with people, and then make tweaks if I need to, or move on to something else. So that's really how I think
That's
about it.
awesome. That's awesome. Do you have like I mean obviously I know you got people to support you, but do you have like people that you kind of talk with and bounce these ideas off of and that circle of support, you got those people as well on your side?
100%. And I
That's
mean,
good.
I have my partner, right, who's
Yeah.
always been there, like, one of my day ones. I
Yeah.
got, old friends. You
That's
are
good.
one of them, right? That
Yeah.
have been there since the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
But then when I kind of got into this entrepreneurial journey, when I was like, okay, now I'm a CEO of my own of a business. This is my
Yeah.
own business. I'm like, this is a different way of being. I very much started seeking out
Yeah.
those people who could be support.
Yeah.
People who either and so I have different levels of like people that I reach out to. I have people who
Yeah.
are like in the same space that I'm in, and I
Okay.
have people that like are mentors that I'm like, oh, I want to be where you're at, right? That I look up to, and so
Yeah.
having different people that I can reach out to is super helpful. Again,
Yeah.
because like if it's just in my head, it's not serving me, it's not serving others.
Yeah.
So I need to have I know that I need to have that ability to share with people, even if it's just like, hey, I have this idea, like I'm gonna do this thing, and then hearing how people are reacting. I mean, that's how it was with tea time. I
Mhm.
had this idea and I started sharing it with different people, and I was like, here's what I'm thinking of doing. And every time I shared it with different groups,
Yeah.
their excitement added to my excitement, and then again
Yeah.
helped me get more clear on what I wanted this meetup for middle managers to be.
Yeah. Okay. You just stole my next question because I was going to ask you. Let's talk about the bird for tea time. So, yeah, let's just talk about it. What's it about? What are you doing? And just yeah, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. So it really started as I've been doing this work and supporting teams since the beginning, and this whole time it's just been really for me like my heart is with middle managers. I feel
Yeah.
like the unique thing that I kind of bring is helping people kind of improvise in the workday, like how
Yeah.
to kind of like roll with it. And I think the people who need to be the most flexible, who need to roll with it the most, are middle managers,
Yeah.
right? Because they have so many different things that are pulling them. They have to
Mhm.
deal with like their leadership, the organization, and then, their team and supporting their needs, and then also themselves because they don't want to get lost in the mix.
Mhm.
And so I've seen time and time again, I'm like, "Ugh, I want there to be more support for them,"
Yeah.
because sometimes there's things that are going on as a middle manager and you're like I I really can't be that
Yeah.
real.
Right. Right.
Because I gotta hold a certain level of,
Right.
this professionalism,
Yes.
so that
Absolutely.
everyone feels good. Because
Mhm.
one of the things that middle managers end up doing is like taking care of everybody.
Mhm.
They're doing a lot of emotional labor that people
Mhm.
are not recognizing.
Mhm.
And I've just for so long been like middle managers need a space, they need
Mhm.
support to come together and to
Mhm.
get that, where you can be real and you can say,
Right.
here's what's going on. And you can get other people who totally get it, be like, yes.
Yeah.
And here's some thoughts, right? And here's some things, and like, and even just to tell you, like, you're not losing it. That's
Right.
exactly how it be sometimes.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So when you say middle managers, explain that terminology.
Yeah.
Explain, yeah, middle managers. What is that for those people who may not understand it?
Yeah, no. So for me, a middle manager, I explain it as if you are someone who is responsible for someone else in the work that you do. So you have someone who like reports to you, someone
Mhm,
who you have to supervise, someone who you watch, their work, but basically you are accountable for
mhm.
the work that others are doing, even if it's just one person, right? But then you still have someone who's watching you,
Uh-huh.
then you're a middle manager
That's right.
because you're right in the
Mhm.
middle.
That's right.
So right? And that's the simplest definition. And so
Mhm,
because you're like, oh, I'm responsible for them, but people are still watching me. So there's a balance that you have to
mhm,
strike there, that's
mhm.
unique for the middle
Yes.
manager. Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, I love that you captured that particular title because it's so true. It's so true. People in that role, like you said, they're providing so much emotional support.
Mhm.
You got people coming to you for so much that they're going through, whether it's personal, whether it's on a workplace, like whatever. And you have to know how to manage these people. You got to know how to manage their emotions. You got to really be wearing different hats with different people, because you manage a different personalities. Some people you can be direct to, other people, you got to kind of, well, I got to kind of go around the block with and just, so you definitely on point with that, for
Yeah.
sure. And
And
it's,
and I was gonna say, and even sometimes it's not necessarily just emotional, like they
yeah,
don't come with you with emotions, they
yeah,
come to you with unreasonable expectations, right?
yes,
And you still gotta emotionally manage that.
yeah,
Right? They could be very, like, unemotional, but they're having unreasonable expectations, like,
yeah.
then that's more work.
Yeah, I was in a position where with this company, and it was a management role, and so when I started, one of the my direct reports came to me, and now keep in mind this particular person lived maybe about 6 minutes from the job site. This particular person told me that she's going to be late every day. This is what she I mean, when you know how like when you meet the people and all this, and so I asked her, I'm like, well, why? And she was just like, well, I don't know. I just, like being late for work. This is what she was telling me. And so I'm like, okay. So I pretty much told her, well, that's not gonna fly with me because I felt like you coming on out strong and being transparent. I'm gonna be transparent. I told her that's not gonna fly with me. Well, she tried it anyway. And I was at this job for 2 weeks, still learning my role, and I rolled her up after 2 weeks, you know. And to me, I felt like she wanted me to accommodate these expectations. Like, you 6 minutes from the job, you're the class. I'm like, I said, well, do you have any kids? Like, is it you got an appointment in the morning or what? No, I just like being late for work. This is what she told me. And I wrote up. Well, that problem was solved real quick. And so when you said that, that kind of reminded me of that because it's like, who does that? Like, I'm driving 30 minutes to get to work. You only driving 6 minutes to get to work. Like, come on, like I can't meet that. I can't accommodate that behavior. I can't do it.
And I mean, and, like, they would be different, right? If the person had said, "Well, I'm consistently like, I try, but I'm always running late. So
Yeah,
can we be flexible? If I
yeah,
come in 10 minutes late, then I stay 10 minutes or it
yeah,
cuts 10 minutes into my lunch." Like if there was like a
yeah.
willingness to be flexible, I feel like it would have gone a different way.
It would have.
Um, but that's a thing that's really hard. And I think, to your point is that like middle managers can get caught in like, oh, I have to be super like lay down the law,
Yeah,
or like I have to be like, well, everybody can do whatever they want.
yeah,
And it really is like there's so much, again, right? That flexibility that you have to understand, like, how can I navigate so that I'm holding a boundary and holding people
right.
accountable, right? But
Yeah,
not being unreasonable either.
right.
So,
Exactly.
100%. Yeah, there's a lot to think about.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So let's get back to tea time. So you held your first event, right?
Yes.
Okay. How did it go? And
It was awesome. It was so
that's
awesome. So it's a live event that happens in Sacramento. We're hosting it at Classy Hippie Tea Company, which is in Broadway Coffee Building.
okay.
Um, they're one and the same, and so just love, so excited to be there. So it'll be once a month. Information's on my website, but really it was so great. We came together, and the flow of it really is doing a quick little kind of icebreaker. And so I give people a little game of sorts, right? We started
Yeah.
off just kind of warming up, because it's really important to stretch our brains because it's just like any other muscle, right? Like
Mhm.
you gotta warm it up before you can actually like use it in a real way. So that's what the point for that is. Um, and then I also think it's something good for the people to take with them to their teams because
Yeah.
there's always ways that you need to kind of like get the team activated.
Yeah.
So we start there and then um, have a conversation, and it was really focused on kind of what's going on for people and like where do they feel like they're needing support, and just chatting together, break up into small groups. Um, another little like facilitated exercise that I have everyone do, and then kind of coming together. And it was really amazing, even just for the first time to be like,
Yeah.
oh wow, like I've already heard from folks afterwards how like thankful they are that this space exists, and just
Yeah.
being able to be like, oh, this is like a safe space where I can be like,
Yes.
Help, how do I deal
Right.
with this situation?" um,
Yeah.
and there were people from all different like industries. So we had a range, right, of
Yeah.
different people, but like the issues that they had were all very similar. They were all people issues,
Yeah.
right? So no matter, like, you have people that work in the government, we have people that worked in a national organization that, supervise people remotely all over the US, and somebody who just
Yeah.
has like a small office that they're in charge of.
Yeah.
Um, but they all had similar issues that were just like people. It's the
Yeah.
people part of managing that really can drag people
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. And I love that because it's one of those things where beside um you talked about it being a safe space, but it's also to a form of self-care
Hmm.
because you have a group of people that you feel comfortable with sharing ideas with, um, sharing personal experience with, your role as a middle manager and things like that, and knowing that these people share um, some of the similar or same experience, and it does make you feel good that you can put that on the table and get advice, or take some stuff back that can potentially help you for a situation that's gonna come down, and down the road, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, it absolutely is self-care. And I gave the example at the tea time event that, a lot of times in the position, right, the middle managers, we talked about like you kind of have to hold it together for the
Yeah.
benefit of everybody else. And so what ends up happening is you're like swallowing how you really feel.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
And so I was giving that example of like, right, it's like a beach ball that you're shoving under the water in a pool. And it's like, yeah, you can hold it there for a little while, but at some point it's
Hmm.
going to pop up and it's going to splash or leak on everybody. And
Hmm.
so maybe that doesn't happen at work, but it might happen in your personal life. It
Uh-huh.
might happen in other relationships. And
Hmm.
so this is the space so that people are not
Yeah.
letting that like
Yeah.
affect their lives, that they can really exactly have that self-care, have that community. And yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the challenges being a middle manager is so many pros and
So
cons, so many. But I know for me, as I can speak of two. One for sure is it can be definitely the people. And when I mean the people, I mean the people above and the people that I'm supervising. Because I have worked in an organization where I had a supervisor that was, when I tell you, a micro manager to the T, to the T. And, this particular person, I had been there maybe like a year or two. and they came in, they got hired, and it was all about their agenda. It wasn't, this person did not set a team atmosphere. It was just like, well, I see, this person doing that. You need to talk to them, or they can't eat at their dad. Like, it was just crazy. It was unreasonable. And the people that I was supervising, they knew that this change had came through me because of my new manager and stuff. And here I am, I'm caught in the middle. They're expressing their disdain for her. She's expressing how she feels this should be with them. And it was extremely, extremely stressful, extremely stressful. And eventually I had left because it was just too much,
Right.
And so I think tea time spaces like that will definitely help people on their journey when things start to come about. Because I could tell you right now, I could have definitely used, your event for that situation I was going through. Because I needed the event, I needed people who was on my level where I can get some feedback from, outside of my organization.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. And I think, and sometimes being able to just vent and in a space where it's like productive, right? Because sometimes,
Yeah,
we all got those friends where like
yeah,
we vet with them, but then it just gets worse with them
right,
because then they're all like, and then like we get hyped with them.
right,
And then I'm
right,
like, okay, and now I'm ready to quit my job, which
right, right.
maybe it wasn't at that level.
Right, exactly.
So that's why you know
Uh,
exactly what I'm talking about. So
yeah, exactly.
that's why I think, and that's another reason for a tea time is like because it's a
Uh,
it's a it's a space where we can express, but
yeah,
also have like because I don't want anybody to just kind I use them. I'm a very visual metaphor
yeah,
person. Like I feel like when we have sometimes we vent, sometimes it feels like we're like vomiting all this stuff,
yeah,
and I never want anybody to then leave with all that ick that they're
yeah,
covered in, right? It's for them to like express and then get understanding,
yeah,
get a tool at least so that they leave feeling better than when they showed up. That's always
exactly,
my goal. Yeah.
exactly. So, what do you say for people who, because sometimes a middle manager position can be goals for some people who are in the organization. Sometimes people like that level of authority or power, whatever you want to call it. And sometimes people they just seeking to grow within the organization, for whatever their reasons are. What do you say to people who are looking to step into their role as a middle manager? Like, what would you talk to them about? What would you tell them?
I would tell them that if you care about people, um, this is not going to be the easiest
Hmm.
road.
Hmm.
Um, and if you don't care about people, your team will not be productive.
Yeah.
So, right, there's a choice there, and I think that caring about people just means that you have to be more intentional, and
Yeah.
that spending some time with the things that are about the people are important. And like small examples is that you need to have a little buffer before you send an email.
Right. Exactly.
Like, and these are things people don't tell you, but these are small things. Like it takes a little bit of time to be thoughtful and intentional so that you're taking care of people, you're communicating in a way that is intentional and not just like shooting from the hip, you know, in your autopilot thoughtlessness. Because when you damage a relationship, when you damage trust, whether that be the people on your team or your leadership,
Hmm.
then you've already like limited where you can go. And
Yeah.
so the relationship, I think that the relationships you cultivate are the most important.
Yes.
And you never know where people are going to be because
Yeah.
sometimes there's people who are on your team that you're now supervising, but you have no idea where y'all going to be in 3, 5 years from now.
That's
They
right.
might be in a position to be somewhere else and recommend you by name if they
Hmm.
had a good relationship with you. So
Hmm.
just the importance of relationships is so huge. So that's what I would encourage people to recognize. Um, because if you're just doing it for your own power and you don't care about people,
Yeah.
it's not going to go well for you in the long term.
Yeah. That's so true. Do you think that people have to have a certain skill set to be a middle manager, or just anybody can do it?
I think that it's a learned skill,
Okay.
right? Because so much of it is the people part, right?
Right.
And so if you are willing to understand, like, okay, how can I work with people?
hmm
Right. And that's one of the things, like when I coach and I support middle managers, that's what I'm working on. We're working on those people skills. Uh,
Yeah.
that is something that anybody can learn,
Yeah.
but you have to be willing to learn it. To
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like I could learn how to play an instrument,
Yeah.
but if I have no interest in learning how to play it, I'm not going to be very good or ever get around to it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the same kind of thing. Like I think anybody can learn it, but people have
Yeah.
to want to and put in it does take effort.
Yeah. And I think too, if for those people who are looking to grow within the organization, I think it's important that the person who is overseeing them, I think it's part of their role as being a manager. And I'm talking about a manager overseeing a manager. If you know that somebody that is your direct report, that are your direct reports, and you know that they're interested in growing within the organization, maybe to a higher level of management position, I feel like it's the manager role to get them to that point, meaning coaching them, work mentoring them, and just really, really, really making sure that when they get there, they have the tools and the skill set and things like that. Because the reason why I say that, because I've worked in two separate organizations. This is a true story. And when I got hired, they had already put people in place to be a supervisor, and I come in and it's like, oh, okay, this person, we're going to move them. We've already interviewed them, blah blah blah. They're going to be working under you, and uh they're going to transition to this supervisory role in 2 weeks. You are in the process doing the paperwork, whatever. And so I'm like, okay. And as I got a chance to supervise these people, I'm thinking to myself, nowhere in the world I would have put them in this role. No way. Because I'm looking at their character, I'm looking at their morals, their ethics, like the whole, even the people part, which was the biggest part. And I'm like, how did these people get here? But a lot of that stems from, oh, they were good at being, I'm just gonna say like
An individual contributor, right? Like as an individual, they contributed.
yeah,
They're really good at their job. So
right,
let's move them out of this job and have them
right,
watch other people doing the job they used to have. That'll
right.
make sense.
Right. And that was a bad move.
Mhm.
And so, I've watched these people get in these positions, and they had a really close relationship now with the people that they're now supervising. And they didn't know how to set those boundaries. So now they're into it with their direct reports, because the direct reports feel like, well, now you think you all that. We used to do this together. We both, called or whatever they was doing. And so that's what I mean by they need to be taught. They need to know how to set those boundaries, because I mean, when I stepped in at one organization, it was like War 3. I mean, I couldn't believe some of the stuff that was going on with these people. And so later I found out that, okay, the girl got promoted, and she still hangs out with these people outside of work as their supervisor. But they was hanging out before she got promoted, you know. And so it was just it was all bad. All bad.
Yeah, and there really is. You have to set boundaries and again, right, there's flexibility in that. And I think
Yeah.
people need to understand like what does that mean? But
Yeah.
you're right, people need to have mentors. And I think,
Yeah.
if you know that you want to move up and you want to be like a manager and you're moving in that direction, find yourself a mentor. And it
Yeah.
might be someone already in your organization, maybe somebody who's supervising you, but it might not be.
Yeah. That's true.
Because sometimes you don't have those people in your organization,
Yeah.
but they exist, right?
Yeah,
And so like finding them, going to networking events with intention, LinkedIn is people are so accessible on LinkedIn
yeah,
to if there's somebody who you're like who you admire in the space and you're like, "Hey, that's you're doing what I hope to be doing."
yeah, yeah,
Just follow them. See the
yeah,
kinds of things that they're sharing, what kinds of things that they're doing, where they're moving, and I think that that's a huge point that you make about none of us just come out the gate knowing how to do these things.
yeah,
We have to either see it modeled for us, we have
yes,
to learn from making a lot of mistakes, right? And that's the thing. So having a mentor just makes that a smoother process.
yes, yes, exactly. Um, so they came downstairs. Um, so where do you see tea time? Uh, where do you see the direction of tea time moving to? Because I personally think this is one of your um I think this is one of the things that you're doing. I think this is going to be big. I don't know. I just sense like even when I was reading up on it when you had text me, I was like, oh, okay. And I did let filter the information to a few of the managers and stuff who said they was interested. One of them had to go out of town or whatever. But I see this as something that's gonna just snowball into something big because we're living in a time now that those people that are middle managers or who are seeking, I feel like they're looking for that safe space outside of work, to mingle with different people, to get different people ideas, to find people that's relatable to what they're going through. Or like, I don't know, but I really feel like Bedside so strong that this thing is going to snowball into to something bigger and something good for sure. Watch, you'll see.
Yeah, no, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, that's and I feel like I started this because it feels like it's such a need
right, exactly.
and I'm just like so excited for people to be able to come together and like just even, at the event, like the way people left
Yeah,
versus the way they came in, they just felt a little lighter.
right.
And those, I mean, even, just that change can completely affect how we show up in spaces, how we like interact with people. Like, I always think of like the ripple effect of that kind of
Yeah,
thing. So like to have a moment where you're like, oh, like I feel connected, I feel better prepared to deal with what I'm doing at work.
yeah,
The ripple effect of like how much easier, like your energy is like in your commute, like how much
yeah,
easier you're interacting with other people, like how much more like joy that you bring to, and then all of that, every interaction you have has a ripple effect as well. So
yeah.
to me, it's just like, yes, like let's go.
I have an idea for you too. I'm gonna tell you offline, but I don't know. I like it. I love it. I really do. Like just and I haven't even attended yet, but I'm telling you, this one is gonna be huge for you because once again, people are looking for support. Being in these roles, it can be mentally draining.
Yes.
And it does play on your mental health. It causes stress, it causes anxiety. Like, you need to be able to take care of yourself
Hmm.
being in these roles, for many different reasons, so I think this is you'll see.
And absolutely, I think it's like it's very mental health centered for the middle manager, but then
Yeah.
also when your middle manager is stressed and you're a team member,
Hmm.
that also affects your mental health.
Yes, it
Because if
does.
they're coming in with an energy, right?
Yeah,
That's all contagious. It's all, and so it really it's important.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think this is going to be a good resource for middle managers. This event is definitely going to be a good resource because you're not or you shouldn't come in feeling the same way opposed to when you leave, you know. And so that's why I got an idea for you, but we'll see. Yeah, this is
Okay, yeah, yeah.
I want to be involved some way, somehow. Like, yeah, yeah. I mean, I've obviously been in match for a long time, and I've been, had the highs and lows, and but I've not, ran across something like what you're doing now, for sure. And you bring something different, which is your comedy, which is going to really, stand out from the rest, so to
Yeah.
speak.
And
So,
can I just say like why I called it tea time? Because I didn't talk about
yeah.
it, but I think it's important. And I called it tea time because there's really like a couple different meanings of tea
Mhm.
time, right? So tea time is when you kind of come together and like this warm kind of beverage, and it's just like a comforting moment, right? There's kind of like the tradition of like in the afternoons, people kind of slow down and have that moment for tea, right?
Yes.
Traditionally, tea time. But
Yeah.
then also, right, there's the tea time where it's like, oh, we're coming together to spill the tea, right?
Right.
So where you just like
Yeah.
letting things out. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, like here's the juicy things that are happening and
Right.
getting stuff off my chest. And
Yeah.
so that's really what I want it to be. I want it to feel like those things where it's like, whoo, it's a place where I can come and I can't wait to share
Yeah.
what's going on and to hear what's going on. So I could be like, okay, but then
Yeah.
also to be grounded and for it to be that moment of like taking that breath and feeling more like a calm.
Yes.
So that's the vibe, right? That's why it's tea time.
I love it. I love it. I love the part when you just spill it all. Yeah.
That's what we're, and it doesn't have to always be negative. And I think
Right. No,
that's
I
important
know.
too.
I know.
But yeah, like
Yeah.
just to have people who get it.
Yeah. But one of the things I do like about it, I like that there are people coming from different management companies. There are people who are middle managers, but coming from different companies, different backgrounds, different.
Totally different industries.
I
Uh-huh.
love that. Love it, love it, love it. Because who knows? You got somebody who may have a desire to work, just say for the government, or somebody who may want to create, start their own business, but don't know how to do it. And then you talk to this person, and they can give you, some information, or just give you some tools to help you on your journey. So it's going to serve multiples of purpose. This meeting, multiple.
Yeah, because the networking too is like
Right.
you connect with people and you learn about things that you maybe wouldn't otherwise have like a little peek into what's going on.
Yeah.
Um, and as different as all these different industries are, I think there's also things that we can learn from each other. And I've always been somebody who's like, ooh, I love to like, I was just a curious person. So
Yeah.
I do think that there's exactly what you're saying. There's opportunity to connect and be like, oh, like now I got a friend who works here.
Right.
And you never know when that will be beneficial to you and to support you because, right, just having a network of like and real people.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So you chose that particular location. Why? Why did you feel for that particular location will work for what you're trying to do with Tea Time?
Because Classy Hippie Tea is such a, first of all, it's a cute spot. And I knew that I wanted it to be in kind of like a tea house. I wanted it to be somewhere that felt warm and cozy and inviting. I love that it's in Oak Park. It's a Black owned business.
Yeah.
So all about supporting
Yeah.
local, right, and Black businesses. So to me, that was like, okay,
Yeah.
done. And it's so cute. Like you go there and you're just like, oh, it just has good vibes. The selection of tea is just on another level. And yeah, and the owner there, Leo Hickman, is so supportive and loves what we're doing and is so, I mean, so many reasons.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
great spot.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And how long have you been knowing like the owner? Uh,
For just a couple months. So I
Okay.
had run into him like other events because they hold different events at the Classy Hippie Tea, and so I had met him a while ago, right, at one of
Mhm.
the events, and then kind of just been around. But in the last couple months, when I started to be thinking like, oh, I want to find a location, I went in and I chatted with him, and he was so gracious with his time and like really like talked to me, was like, "Hey, let me understand the vision. Like, what are you about?" And sharing things. And he was just like, "Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Please be here and do this." And so
nice,
just really, really lovely, super supportive. Um, yeah.
nice. And Beside, so how long did you work on this particular project before you launched it?
I so again, it was like a seed of
Okay.
many different little ideas, right? That kind of came together. I would say it took me probably 2 months
Okay.
to be
Wow.
like, no, go.
Wow.
Um, so when I had the feeling of like, I had shared it with a couple of like people,
Mm,
and they all had the same reaction of like, yes. And I was like, right? Right?
yeah.
Isn't this important? They're like, yes. And so uh, one of uh, one of the people I was talking to, who is my she supports me like visibility, like putting myself out there on social media, doing all those things. She was like, "Hey, here's a challenge. Um, since you're excited about this, make it real this week."
Mhm.
And I was like, "Okay." And so that was like, I was just like, "Okay, let's go." And so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You should I mean, like I'm sure this is on your website. Do you have like and I know this is probably like a little bit outdated to a certain degree because everything is so digital and social media, but do you have any paper flyers as well? Or have you
Well, I have some design. Yeah,
can,
that's I see.
so email me, just email me a flyer or two.
Okay.
And I'll, get them around for sure. Yeah, because this
Thank you.
this this is, trust me, this gon' I really think that this gon' snowball into some, like just the way you describe it. And I'm definitely gonna try to make the next one too. Just, and I'm gonna try to invite a few more people from my organization that, that's in management as well. And kind of see, also I was thinking about too. So we talked about this earlier, but you're still going in organizations and doing the training and different things like that. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm still leading team workshops.
Okay.
uh, so like, yeah, team building and kind of helping people kind of come together, right? Doing like creative confidence workshops,
Yeah.
and then just, yeah, collaboration workshops.
Yeah.
I have kind of 3 signature team workshops that I do, and then also doing like the management training. So I have gone into a couple organizations and just like taught their whole management team how to lead using emotional intelligence and
Mhm.
some of the other skills, really.
Okay. That's really good too. So I got a few ideas. I'm a yeah, pitch them at you and see. Where are you with your comedy?
I I am performing. I've scaled back on how much I perform, but that's mostly just because of the teams and the timing that I've been doing things. Um, but I am also I do some work and some performance, like corporate performance, with
Yeah.
the group called Freestyle Plus.
Okay.
So that's been really fun. I actually just found out next month I'm going to be in San Diego performing with them, and so that is rap, improvised rap that we're doing. And
Oh,
so, yeah, so it's the cool organization. Some of the people on that team are like Tony Award winners, like
yeah.
been in the game a long time. So it's super fun to jump on stage with them and get to play. And then, but I'm performing every month at the Sacramento Comedy Spot with my hometown group, which is the Masters of Rap Improv, so MRI. And we're gonna take a break. I think this month is our last show,
Oh,
uh,
for how long?
to the new year.
Okay.
So we're
That's
taking
not that's
November and
not
December
bad.
off for the holidays, but yeah. So this will be the last fourth Friday of the month is the show,
I
7:30.
Best side, I've always been your cheerleader when it comes to comedy. Even to this day, I remember one of the last show that I think you did it at Laughs Unlimited, I
Oh
think.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I came, I recorded. I still got that video. I got a video you rapping, just me, you, and Leanna, just, and you like you have like God has blessed you with many talents. Like you just do. Like you got many talents. But to me, that is definitely one of your strong suit because it's just natural. Like you're natural. And I just don't know how like you just get up there and just do it. And it just because you're naturally funny. And you just it just yourself, you've been who you are up on that stage. It's just you. And so I haven't been anything since then, but I always remember that. I was like, yeah, like this girl is funny.
Thank
So
you. I yeah, I feel like it's because I will take risks.
yeah,
And one of the things about comedy is like just finding your voice and saying the thing and then like knowing that you're not, as scary as things are, like this moment will pass.
yeah,
So I might as well throw myself fully into it because
yeah,
um I think that's what people like. They like to be like, "Oh, that's who you are? That's your wholeness? Okay." Like
yeah,
this.
yeah, exactly. So where do you see yourself outside in 5 years?
Ooh.
Meaning in terms of being an entrepreneur, in terms of doing community work, collaboration, networking, bringing people together, bringing your mental health background, your comedy, all that into your entrepreneurship. Like, what are some of the things you want to do next?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I want to do more of what I'm doing now, and I think that the vision that I have um is really about having more spaces for
Yeah,
people to balance that mental health, that emotional wellness at work, right?
yeah,
Like I would love for this concept of tea time to become a thing that happens that like, hey, like this company, like, I'm just gonna name drop, I don't know, but like Intel or something would be like,
yeah,
hey, we got tea time on campus
yeah.
once a month, like that kind of thing where like it just becomes a thing that people support without
Okay.
question, that they understand the value of people coming together. And that's what I want. I want to be able to share that message. I want to make it bigger than Sacramento.
Yeah,
I want to, yeah, I feel like I just want to share that message. I want to help people come together. And I want to facilitate that in whatever way that I can. And I want people to laugh
yeah,
and to feel and to be real.
yeah. Okay. Well, my friend, we've run out of time. And thank you so much. And I really mean this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for just taking the time out at the last minute and just sharing your vision, sharing what's going on with you. And I know whoever see this particular show, I know they're gonna get a lot out of it. So thank you for that, my friend.
And thank you for being just a wonderful host.
You're welcome.
Oh, I love being here. You know that.
Yes, absolutely. And that's it for this edition of Mental Health Matters. If you enjoyed this particular show, or if you would like a copy of the show, or if you would like to be a guest on our show, please dial 916 366 4600. Thank you.